Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Hey, everybody, you know that guitar? That's the call of Dr. Homebrew. That guitar shreds and we come running. We were just out catching Pokemon or whatever the kids are doing these days to meet other kids.
Crashing their cars.
Yeah, crashing their cars, running into cop cars, walking off cliffs, being total dumbasses. That's just what we needed in culture, is something else to be preoccupied with instead of the real world. I mean, I understand there's nice stories about people meeting each other and like, oh, you're in the park catching things too. But there's far more stories of people being complete dicks and dying and just hurting themselves and other people and breaking into homes. And it's just stupid. I saw there's a few like towns, I forget where they are now, where the fire department and the police have actually had to put out statements reminding people to please don't call 911 and ask to be let into the police station to catch Pokemon. Like, this is a thing. These are the people that we're raising in this country, is they think it's okay to do that.
Wow.
Because they got to catch a thing that doesn't actually really exist in real life. It's a fake. It's a fake thing.
I fear for the future of our society and humanity in general.
You're raising one of them. You have a future of our humanity and society.
Yeah, I fear for him. What's the next?
As a parent, do you fear for your child? I would.
I do. I think, oh man, yeah. What? Yeah. He's not going to have a phone until he's 18.
See, I agree, man. And Taryn's like, if we have a kid, they're going to have a phone. I'm like, not at least until they're 15, 16. You don't need one.
Now they get them at, like, 6 or 7. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we were watching a movie or a show or some bullcrap like that. And the 13-year-old kid had a phone. No. Well, it doesn't matter. Well, we're talking about a friend's kid who's 13, and I'm like, I wish this kid, Sully's kid. Speaking of dumb video games, I play Overwatch with him. I play video games with him, and I'm like, I wish the kid had a phone or a Facebook or an email so I could like let him know, hey, I'm going to be on the game. Let's game. Yeah. And she's like, I don't know why he doesn't have one. I mean, he's old enough. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, the kid's 13, man. What are you doing?
You gotta let kids be a kid.
You gotta let kids be a kid and not be tethered to other people's opinions and what they want. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I have to remind myself to just put my own phone down and just enjoy, playing with him and hanging out.
Yeah.
He's like, Daddy, let's play. Oh, I gotta check my what?
My who's it's dinghy.
Yeah. Doesn't make a move on Words with Friends.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm pretty anti-technology until kids are, I don't know. 17, 16, right?
I mean, that's a tough one. So
it is tough.
It's a personal choice, but I don't judge people who give their kid a phone at.
I totally do, and I try not to. I saw these two towheads. They were walking around with iPads, and they both had headphones on. Mm-hmm. And the mom's like holding both their hands, and they have an iPad in each and they're just walking around. I'm like, with headphones on, and they were like 6 and 4, I would guess. And, they weren't higher than like 10 and 8. And it's like, what are we doing right now? What are we breeding? What kind of people are we raising?
I also swore I wouldn't plop the kid down in front of the TV, but when you need a moment of peace and quiet, it's like, okay,
that happens.
Let's watch a show,
Yeah, I suppose it's easy to talk without
and an
kids.
iPad kind of serves the same purpose at a restaurant or something where you just like need them to be a little sane for a while. Anyway.
But your parents are pretty sane. I mean,
Yep.
It happens. We get away with it.
To Dr. Kid.
That's what we do, Brian. If you haven't fucking realized it by now, we bullshit the first part of the show.
Bullshit our way through anything.
That's right. I like to fill time sometime talking to people about my life.
Then you make us rush at the end of the show and we're running out of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Bastard.
Yeah, that's what happens when you produce. When you create content, Brian, you could be the lead.
Hey, man, we're your clay. You produce this content.
Right. Thank you very much.
We just kind of hang out and we're like gelatinous, judgy things.
That's all you are.
Yeah.
Judgy thing. How would you write that in code so I can game you? Anyway, our sponsor today that is bringing you this great content is 5 Star Chemicals. You go to 5starchemicals.com and learn about everything you need to make great beer, essentially. I mean, really, we all know that it comes down to the cleanliness and the fermentation, and you can't have a proper fermentation if your fermenter's all jacked up.
You might have a
sludge
great,
and slime and grossness.
wonderful recipe that you got from the best brewer in the world. You might have, the Pliny clone recipe.
The one.
Hey, your fermenter's full of gunk and it's not been cleaned in 6 years. No, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So you got to clean it and you got to sanitize it. And the people who make the best products for both of those actions are 5 Star, 5starchemicals.com. Check them out. And if your local homebrew shop doesn't have them, which I'd be very, very surprised, ask for them. Go to your homebrew store and ask them, dude. Email 5 Star. Tell them to contact dude. Be like, hey, dude.
Dude knows.
I need PBW. I need Star Sand. I need these things in my life. Okay, we have a pretty cool show. We're going to do a beer. We have an in-studio guest. Travis is here, and he has some sort of beer for us, I imagine. And then probably doesn't have his mic on. Yeah, my bad, Travis. Sorry about that. How's that?
Hey.
Perfect. And then afterwards, in the second segment, we would normally be doing a beer, but we're going to talk to you guys about packaging. We had a listener email in. He goes, dude, I have no idea how to send beer into competition. Would you guys mind covering something like that? And I said, sure. Why not?
Oh, and I guess there's something about feedback, too.
Yes, there's a feedback as well. Feedback from someone called Brent.
I can't wait for the feedback.
Brent. But see, I don't know who. Here we go. He says, can you help me understand how the same beer, judged at about the same period of time, can get an average score of 37.8 and the next competition receive a 21 and 2 25s? It's boggling my mind. I'm sure he meant to say boggling, but...
Yes, I have a simple answer for you. Judges are assholes.
The end. Some
days they're in horrible mood, and they're completely unpredictable. Just listen to us from show to show.
No, but really, that's not it. I mean, what is it? What is it really?
Same beer, same temperature.
Same beer, same temp, same everything.
Or it was just 2 different competitions.
The same beer judged at the same time period in 2 different competitions.
Was it ice cold in one competition and served at the proper temperature in another competition?
Right.
We don't know that.
Well, also, he says about the same time period. So what style is it? Is it American Blonde Ale that maybe doesn't hold up? I mean, because there's not that many competitions that are kind of back-to-back, weekend to weekend, right?
Yeah.
So is it relatively the same time, 2 months?
I would assume around the same time period means within a couple of weeks or so. But
yeah, well, see, that's what I mean, right? Like
hops can fade over the course of a couple of weeks to the point where it's like, okay, that hop was there, but it just dropped out below to where it's not nice anymore. It's not not that fresh hoppy IPA I had, but for certain styles that's not going to matter as much. So yeah, if it's a double and you judge it 2 weeks apart, shouldn't make a big difference. No, that's not going to
matter. But I would think like an American Blonde Ale would matter, or a Kolsch or something like that. You know what I mean? Well, maybe not a Kolsch, but maybe. I mean, going from a 38 to let's say a 21, that's a drop.
Or if your beer is oxidized and you just kegged it and then you got entered in a competition the next weekend, and then a couple weeks out, it tastes like paper and cardboard. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess that's really what we're talking about is variances on your beer, not necessarily variances on the judges who are judging your beer. Because that's what it comes down to. I mean, all the judges are trained the same for the most part.
No, that's wrong. I would say that most of the variation that was experienced in this case was most likely due to judge variation.
You think so? That much?
Yeah.
Really? 12 points?
12 points? That's not that much.
Is it not that much? It seems like that much, but...
Well, some judges are a little harsher scoring-wise than others, and
Okay.
you really do have to kind of check yourself against what's called the scoring guide on the bottom left of the score sheet. If you pull up the BJCP score sheet, if you call a beer excellent, which is like 38 to 44, it should exemplify the style well, and it should require only minor fine tuning. So if you judged a beer and you scored it at a 30, but it pretty much exemplified the style well, and required only minor fine tuning, where someone else scored it a 40, and where maybe that's where it should be, with someone else, it's easy as a judge sometimes to let little things that bother you or pet peeves of your personal preference about a certain beer style come into play a little too much, and you have to kind of reserve that and hold yourself above it.
Okay.
Not every English brown ale is going to taste like a Newcastle. There's a range that's allowable.
I wish it did.
Well, yeah, sure, but there's a range that's allowable in that style, and you need to understand that it's more about the balance of the beer and what they did with their recipe and how they brewed it and made it fit the style and made it work. So, some judges have yet to learn that, and in most competitions you'll have some recognized and certified level judges judging alongside national or master judges on other tables. And not that the national and master judges are always going to get it right, or the recognized judge is not going to get it right, or an apprentice judge, or even a novice judge at some competitions. But experience does come into play, and you get a better appreciation for what makes the right balance for different beers as you get experience. Some judges are in that competition judging for the first time. They went through the program, they learned it, they're trying really hard to get it, and they should hopefully be paired with someone who's more experienced, and that person ought to, if they're way off kilter, help them realize, well, this beer, the balance of the beer isn't really that bad. I was like, I just thought it was crap, blah, blah, blah. Well, why? I don't know, just crap. Some judges can be a little hard-headed, or they're not open to learning. Or most of them usually, the newer judges do look up to an experienced judge. When I first started judging, it was like, wow, these people are really helping me, and it's awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did kind of score that a little harshly, or I was a little too nice to that beer. I get what you're saying about that little appley thing in there that shouldn't be there, or whatever it is. So, give the judges a little benefit of the doubt. They're not going to always, okay, this beer must be 37.0, and some judge scored it at 35. They're just way off base. I don't understand. I was like 30. Okay, yeah.
Because when judges are scoring, you have to be within 7 points of each other. So already, right? So already you have a 7-point variance where you can go. If a 7-point swing, that's still, you're acceptable with the other judges.
Yeah. Well,
so I guess in that regard, 12 points isn't that big of a deal, especially in another competition, an unknown amount of time later.
Yeah, and in one competition, you might, let's say you have a beer that's really a 35. You got one competition, it was judged, one judge gave it a 29, the other one gave it a 35.
Yeah.
And the 29 guy is an asshole who says, this is crap, you need to bring your score down. That last beer was way better than this, and the nice guy just, I'll agree with you and pull my score down. Okay, sure. Now we're within 5 points. Nice. Or, they bring it down to 3 points from each other, or whatever it is,
Right.
It could be even more extreme than that. Then the next competition, one judge gives it a 36, which is reasonable, and another judge is just like, looks past some of the defects and flaws, and they might be less experienced and equally hard-headed as that other judge that scored it at the 20-something and scored a 41 or 42. And, the other judge might listen to what they have to say, and they might come up. It happens at the end of judging all the time, and you could get to a 10-point spread with that. It happens. It happens. Yeah. Judging is not a perfect. It's an art form, kind of. It's not really scientific. But you should, as a judge, as you get more experience, you should be able to tell a 20-something beer from a 30-something or a 40-something.
Keith, you find that similar?
Definitely.
Yeah. Brian's right.
For the most part.
We can't blame the brewer. We have to blame the judge. That's too bad.
No, I mean, occasionally there are differences in bottles. So,
Yeah.
See, that's what I told him. I was like, it depends on where you are in the flight. It depends on what happened. Maybe you had a bottle variance. It depends on how long ago it was. There's a lot of different stuff.
No, that whole diatribe, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. And I really, there's a lot of things that can make your beer very from one bottle to the other.
And sometimes in a competition, we get a bottle and it explodes and we can't even drink it. And we'll say, let's bring out the second bottle because it's not going to go to best of show the way it is right now. And the second bottle sometimes isn't the same as the first bottle. So it's possible that something happened to the one bottle versus the other bottle. That's a possibility there but that seems like a pretty big swing. But at the same time, like, points aren't everything always. Like, sometimes it's more important, like, where you place in a competition versus strictly points. So if you scored a 35 in one competition and a 41 in the other, the 35 may still go on and win that category, while the 41 may end up coming in second or third place.
Right.
So it really depends. Like, all judges have their own sort of sweet spot where a good, great beer is, and it really maybe shouldn't be that way. And maybe we should train more to points, but there's always some variance there. Yeah,
and that's why you have, when in your best of show and second round, you have more experienced judges generally working on the beers. Sometimes you'll have a prelim where you'll separate out the wheat from the chaff, and sometimes you can get more variance in those kind of prelim scores. Whereas in the final judging, you'll have your better judges. In the best of show, you should have the best of the best, like picking out the top beer. And a lot of times the number one, the best of show beer isn't always the one that some cuckoo head gave a 49 just because they were like, hey, it's great, I love it, and then
they were smitten.
For
sure. Well, and
38-point beer wins it.
Right, and if you had decent judges, you should be able to tell on the score sheet what was missing from the beer, and you can compare the score sheets, and that should pretty much give you a snapshot of what was happening, what was going on with that beer at that time, at least according to style.
Yeah, you can tell by reading the score sheet if the judge knows their ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah,
you can.
I think he was a listener. Maybe we had him on at one point. I hope he wasn't like saying that about our show. But
no, but yeah, thanks for putting the comment out there. Yeah. It is something that people, as a competition organizer, I've gotten that complaint many times, and then sometimes when your best of show beer is the one that scored the 37, and there was a 45-point beer that you tasted afterwards that was also pretty damn good. It's like, well, hey, the best of show judges made their best effort, and who knows why the previous judges gave it the 38.
Yeah, it happens with mini best of show a lot now too. A category like an IPA, you have a lot of competitions. You have 50 beers, so you have to deal with mini best of show where you have a bunch of different panels bringing the beers up, and then the final beer that wins isn't necessarily the highest beer. So it's like, well, it's all there's a lot of variance there between judges and points. So points aren't everything. It's more about the feedback, as you said, JP. That's the important thing. If the feedback makes sense, then that's good. But if you read something and the judges is totally off, then there's anything that could possibly happen. Sometimes bottles get mixed up in competitions. Like, there's always crazy things that happen. I've seen happen before. The bottle gets lost, and then they find something else, and they try to judge it, and who knows? But
the entrant sends in 6 bottles, and they swear they marked them right. But you get the one that's a inky black, pale ale or something. It's like, okay, well, we got to judge it. Here it is in front of us. And then sometimes in a 2-bottle competition where you're saving one for best of show, and you've got just one bottle to work with, and you've got to do like a little mini boss there to pick the top 1, 2, 3. Those beers have warmed up a little bit, and they've lost a little carbonation, so it could change the beer where one that was a little out of balance before comes into balance, or goes out of balance, whatever. There's a lot of things that can happen in a competition. So they're all doing their best, and the judges are all doing their best too, generally.
For sure. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're getting into Travis's beer, and do all that kind of stuff. It's Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A, and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Kings.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states, plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small, single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. Before we get to the beer, I want to tell you guys about the iDip. Our good friends at Smart Brew Kit. Here, let me pull up my deal. SmartBrewKit.com. The Smart Brew water testing kit incorporates a revolutionary photometer system. You've heard us talk about the photometer. It's the first and only water testing kit on the market with its own app, for God's sakes. It has an app. Not everything does. They lie to you. They think they want you to know that everything has an app. It doesn't. But the iDip does. It's for home or commercial use, so you can buy it as a home brewer, and if you feel like transitioning into another role as a commercial brewer, bring it right along. It fits great in any size brewery, and really, it helps you make better beer by helping you craft the water that you need. And very, very easily too. There's no math involved. Everything has a patented strip system. So you put your water in the little photometer and you wiggle the strip around depending on whatever one you want to test, like total alkalinity, chloride, calcium hardness, pH, sulfate, and you wait like 20 seconds or something like that, and bam, it's done.
Yeah, and it's also a good a club purchase if your club.
It's a fantastic
has
club
a lot
purchase.
of a fair amount of extra money built up from your hard-earned club dues. It's kind of, and we did this with our club. It's fun because there's so many different waters even around just the Bay Area and not even that far. I live in Livermore, and the water is really hard and alkaline. And you go over to San Ramon, and then they're on the East Bay Mud, and it's like Pilsner water. It's just like super low minerals and clean and more neutral. It's just night and day difference, and it's just two different water sources in the same region. So
I live in San Francisco, and sometimes our TDS ranges from 20 to 60. But it'd be great to have a tool like that to sort of gauge, even when you're brewing, what you're looking at.
Your water varies over the year too. They'll pump more groundwater, pump more of this or that.
Changes
whatever.
all the time, man. With the iDip, you can stay on top of those changes, and you can email your results to the rest of your brewers on your team. Or if you're, like Brian said, if you want to do it as a club, you can post it to your Facebook page and let your club get the lowdown on your base water profile. So go to smartbrewkit.com and enter code TBN10 at the checkout, and you can save $10 on either the standard or advanced Smart Brew testing kit. And then send them an email. and thank them for being a sponsor of the Brewing Network in general, but specifically of this show, because I say it all the time. We wouldn't be here without these people, and I definitely mean it. So check them out, smartbrewkit.com. Order now and make this futuristic technology part of your brewing process. I speak good for living.
Yeah. You work to master your brewing process, but you don't know where your water is. That's
smartbrewkit.com.
One big ingredient in your beer.
TBN 10.
No.
All right, Travis, how you doing, man? You ready?
I'm doing great.
You
How are
ready for this nonsense that we call Dr. Homebrew?
I am.
How long you been homebrewing, man?
I've been homebrewing for about 6 years, coming up in September.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
6 years. And what beer do we have in front of you? I have this motor oil. What's going on here?
Yeah, we call it Squid Belly Stout.
Okay.
So it's definitely a motor oil type beer.
Okay. Is this something you've done before?
No, it was definitely a hodgepodge me and my buddy threw together and brewed it up.
Okay.
There was no main beer behind it, just making a stout.
Just had a bunch of ingredients, like maybe ingredients lying around, or you just kind of wanted to fart around some new stuff?
The problem with being a home brewer is you get in the homebrew store and you get unleashed on all the grain. You start grabbing stuff left and right.
Problem. Yeah, for sure. I've been there before, dude. I have to exercise restraint big time. Yeah.
Usually some of the brews I make is just a piece of paper. You crank down what you think is a good idea, and then you head into the store, and sometimes things change while you're in there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, well, let's see how you did here. Keith, why don't you start us off, man?
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I think, on the nose, a lot of roast, a little bit light toastiness, lots of coffee, subtle chocolate vanilla. Also very fruity, not picking up any hops at all in terms of aroma. Generally very clean in terms of fermentation characteristics. As it warmed, it got a faint hint of acetaldehyde, probably in maybe a little green apple there, but pretty jumps out of the glass. I gave it a 10 out of 12. I thought it was pretty awesome in terms of aroma. Really enjoyed the aroma. Appearance, pretty much almost black. I'd say it's opaque. The head was a little bit low. We are getting, this is being served out of a growler, so I probably gave a little bit of a leeway there, so the head looked a little bit low there, and then probably the carbonation overall in general we'll talk about later was a little bit low, but gave it a 2 out of 3. Flavor, big roast again, but not really totally astringent or burnt, but a lot of chocolate, light coffee, malt hop bitterness. Malt to hop balance leans more to the malt, so it's a little bit sweeter. This is supposed to be a foreign stout, and I would say that's probably a little bit too sweet for the style. I think really it should be a little more dry for this style. So it's somewhat, for me right now, it's towing the line between a foreign stout and a tropical stout. But overall, once again, clean, no hop flavor. And I'd say just maybe once again a touch of acetaldehyde. Very, very light though. Medium full body, medium low carbonation, hint of astringency from the dark malts, and overall, so that was a 3 out of 5. Flavor was 12 out of 20, and overall, really enjoyable beer. I was just mentioning before, it reminded me a little bit of Obsidian Stout from Deschutes. It's kind of hard where to place this in terms of a competition. I gave it a 34 overall. Thought it was a really, really good beer. I just sort of would wonder if there's a way to move it to a different category that make it a little bit better. It kind of falls somewhere in between, for me, a foreign stout and that tropical stout. So I'm trying to figure out where to go. But I love the dark malt character. Pretty expressive there, but without being like sort of burnt in like burnt coffee sort of flavor. So I thought it was a really good job, Travis.
Tropical stout. What was that before the change? That's one of the recent changes, right, to this guidelines. What would that be in the old guidelines?
It was foreign. So foreign had both of them. They had this and the other one. And now this is more like the Guinness, where it's supposed to be drier, a little more bitter. And the bitterness here, I think, is a little bit toned down for that style.
I can't imagine Guinness being called a tropical stout.
Well, not
the Guinness was like the foreign.
The Guinness foreign.
And then the Lion Stout and stuff like that would be the tropicals.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Jamaica Stout. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
near the
Lion,
beach.
Jamaica, right? Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Dragon, Lion, yeah.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Keith said there. I really thought the aroma was nice and inviting. The roastiness was smooth up front, had a lot of coffee and other elements in there, a little toffee, a lot of dried fruit characteristics present, a little raisiness, plum, and I got some licorice in there too. I caught a little citrusy hop in there, kind of a little American hop character. I thought pretty low, pretty light. But just balancing with all that roast, and it was clean. No, I didn't get any DMS or diacetyl. I didn't get any acetaldehyde. It could be hiding behind all else that is there. But yeah, it is also like exactly as described. Pretty flat. No head formed at all, and kind of a little frothy low head that dissipated immediately, and ring of large bubbles around the edge there. It does look pretty opaque, but if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of see through it as the beer empties. But it's pretty damn dark.
It is really dark, yeah.
Again, I agree that the roastiness was nice and smooth. It's intense and it's very high, but it's not harsh.
No, it's not overpowering. It doesn't make you back away, and sometimes that can.
Yeah. But level wise, it's almost imperial, and to me, that's one of the things that just threw it a little bit off balance. Where it'd be a little bit better if you back that off a touch for the foreign extra or the tropical. But it's really tasty. Good coffee, little low kind of bitter chocolate, cacao kind of flavors. The bitterness is kind of the impression of the bitterness is I would say medium high, because a lot of that bitterness comes from the roast malt. There's some from the hops there, but it's not intense and it's not a hoppy tasting beer. But there's a little hop flavor in there. American kind of citrusy, generic. But yeah, clean ale fermentation. Finishes to me kind of medium, and I didn't get it. The impression to me wasn't quite as sweet as what Keith is picking up. But I also got, which might be accenting this, a little bit of a kind of a chalky, minerally component to it, and that bitter malt just lingers in the aftertaste. So it seems maybe drier than it is. I mean, yeah, there's some sweetness here, there's some alcohol here, there's a lot of things at play. But that bitter, rich roast that's smooth, it is kind of the defining thing in this beer. So it might be covering up some sweetness for me. And mouthfeel wise, I agree with a lot of that. It's kind of medium bodied. It seems fuller than it is with the intensity of the malt and the roast that's there. But, just maybe a faint hint of astringency from all the roast as well. But it's still a fairly smooth drinking beer. It does have a faint bit of kind of a creamy quality to it that you like in these beers. And overall, it's pretty intense stuff. Inky black beer, motor oil, whatever you want to call it. It's tasty and really enjoyable. But I would back off that roast just a little bit, and that's going to improve your smoothness and the overall balance just a little bit. But if this is what you like to drink, by all means, it's tasty the way it is.
It looks good on you.
You should work to improve the head a little bit. It should have something there pushing up. You definitely want a stout to have a nice creamy tan head on the top, and
how do you do that? I mean, because it seems like he has a lot of adjuncts in this beer already.
Again, we could have to forgive it with the growler. I mean, is it poured from keg?
Yeah, it is poured from keg, but the keg actually hasn't been hit with CO2 for a while. So
okay.
It was poured right, and I knew that coming in here that it was going to be a little bit
carbonation is probably a little flat.
Poured it up last night, and I'd lose some of that CO2 over the night.
I mean,
okay, so that was something.
And did you say this? The alcohol level on this one's probably around.
So it came in at a 1064. It attenuated up down to a 1012. So it came out about a 6.8.
Wow. It's not bad.
6 yeah. So it's a 7% beer. Yeah. That's gonna help kill your head a little bit, but not. You should still have a 7% beer hold up a pretty good head. I gave the beer a 36. I thought it was really really enjoyable. Very good beer. It just needs, to meet that style or the tropical stout style. I would say would need to be a little sweeter for the tropical, because if you did also pull that roast back, all the sweetness might poke through a little more too. So that might fix it right there and put it in the tropical stout place. But when Travis gave it to us, he was like, "Well, judge it as a foreign extra." I mean, like you said, you're kind of going seat of your pants, kitchen sink, or whatever kind of approach, or I know you're semi-scientific and having some fun with your recipes, and that's cool. That's part of the fun of home brewing. So, do what you do and take what we give you here and move on from there. But
yeah, you can't be too rigid when you're home. But I mean, we talk a lot about styles. I mean, that's what our show's about essentially. But you got to have fun. You got to do that whole not kitchen sink. I want to call it like homebrew counter. You know what I mean? Like it's just an equivalent thing because. Everyone does that.
I don't want to take the fun out of it for anyone.
No,
please.
It's a blast, man.
Some of the stuff that we mentioned on the show is a fine point. It's just don't take it too seriously.
There's definitely been times where I've been taking my beers way too seriously, and so you need to back off and just have a beer, make a beer, and enjoy what you're doing.
At the end of the day, it's just beer. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
It's not, you make a beer sometimes, you're not sure what category to even be. You taste it, you're like, well, that tastes like this. You can read the guidelines and look at it and be like, well, that fits this. I've met people before, they made a porter. Here's a great porter. And I'm like, hey, that's a 4 and extra stout. They enter it in the competition. They win first place and 4 and extra stout. So it's all about like what the beer tastes like, not what you're trying to brew it as. And when you're doing a kitchen sink beer, you're not really trying to do something anyway. And you might as well just taste it and be like, oh, okay, now that's what it should be. And even now I'm kind of having a hard time like putting it down. What should it be? But it doesn't matter. All the time, it's a good beer. So that's probably the most important thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for the guys, man, about or do we have any more questions for him about process?
It'd be fun to talk about the recipe and how much roast was in there.
Right.
Was it a 5-gallon batch?
So it was a 10-gallon batch that I split. I actually used 2 different yeast. I used an American ale on one of them, and the English ale is this one. So this had the English ale yeast on it. It was a 31-pound grain bill. It had 1 pound of flake barley, 10 pounds of American pale, and about 2.5 pounds of chocolate wheat malt, and another 2.5 pounds of roasted barley, and then another 14 pounds of Maris Otter.
Okay, 2.5 pounds roasted barley. That's a pretty good amount.
10 gallons though.
And 10 gallons, but not out in left field. Yeah.
Yeah, and we used 2 ounces of Goldings for the initial boil, and then followed up 40 minutes in with the Willamette.
Okay. Yeah.
And then add 1 ounce of Fuggle at the very end.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like the character the English yeast is given this one. What did the other one taste like? Just a little more neutral kind of.
I think it was actually a little bit drier. We got a little bit more esters and a little bit more of that fruitiness that you're coming across. Where the other one, I think it attenuated down just 1 more point, so it was at an 11 versus 12.
That might be more like the 4 and extra than a little drier.
Yeah. So I use an electric brewery. So
okay. All right.
So we mashed in. We came in at 149. Mm-hmm. So we held that for about 60 minutes.
You always hit your mash temps?
Within 2 degrees, and I'm not going to freak out about 2 degrees.
No, it
doesn't matter.
Coming in at 149, I called the split between 150 and 148. I got my beta amylase out of it, and I was happy with that. So it had a great attenuation because of that. Then we did a 60-minute boil on it, and within the brewing system, we actually hooked up a freezer that we fill up with water, and we chill the water so it's ice cold, and it's got a copper coil, so then we just pump over.
Oh, okay.
And then we just chill it right there, and you can whirlpool and chill at the same time. So
awesome.
But we didn't do that with this, so it makes chilling it pretty easy.
Sounds like it.
Didn't need to whirlpool it really.
No, definitely not. This thing was just ready to be chilled, and it was tar, like you said. It was definitely glad we didn't have a boil over on this one.
Cool.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that'd be terrible. Peel off the ground. Well, if that's it, I think we're ready for a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. That was easy. That was a little too easy. I feel like we're missing something, but if I'm good, you're good. Wait, other way around. Anyway, Dr. Home, everyone, stay tuned. We'll be back to chat about how to package your beers for a competition. Stay tuned.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers,
fertilizers, and more. 5 Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5 Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5 Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5 Star treatment today. Admit it. Homebrewing is not always free of frustrations. Years ago, brothers Bill and Jim Mitchell decided to minimize those frustrations and create an entirely new brewing process and a brand new kitchen appliance, the Pico Brew Zymatic. The Zymatic sits on your kitchen counter and connects to the internet via Wi-Fi. It comes with access to a huge recipe library full of award-winning beers and can brew your next batch at the push of a button. Improve repeatability and refine your recipes with the Pico Brew Zymatic. With minimal cleaning and hassle, the Zymatic enables anyone to brew craft beer in the comfort of their own kitchen. Just add your ingredients and the process of homebrewing becomes simplified and automatic, allowing you to focus on what really matters while you brew. At Pico Brew, they believe everyone should be able to enjoy the art of homebrewing and make their own damn good craft beer. See the Zymatic in action today at picobrew.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, thanks for hanging out, everyone. We're about to chat about how to package your beer, man, because, look, we've gotten a lot of packages before. I've gotten tons of packages here from the show, and they range from, like, how did this get here safely, because there's almost no packaging, to I need a Swiss Army, I need MacGyver to come in to help me figure out how to open the bottle, because there's so much packaging. There's definitely overkill. And there's a sweet spot, and it all came from a piece of listener feedback, not customer feedback, about, hey, how do you actually, package beer for competition or to send to you guys? Like, a lot of people don't really know how to do it. So you kind of just get all the scrap newspaper you can and cross your fingers, man. Right. So we're going to chat about that. But first, I want to tell you guys about our latest sponsor, Craft Brew. And they have this really cool Kickstarter going on for a fermenter that Brian has just accepted delivery today. Called the Catalyst. And what it is essentially a tabletop plastic conical fermenter with a giant 3-inch triclover butterfly valve at the bottom. And you attach a jar to the bottom, open the valve, dump your beer in there, dump your yeast in there, and all the yeast eventually, as it settles out, collects in the jar. And you close the valve, and you have a jar full of yeast that you can now wash and repitch into your next batch. It's pretty cool, and it's tabletop. You don't have to mount it to the wall. You don't have to do anything like that. So if you guys want to get in on the Catalyst fermentation system, check them out. They're over on Kickstarter. Just search for The Catalyst. By Craft Brew, or I guess you can search for Craft Brew. I don't really know how Kickstarter works, like how to search for stuff, but you can get in pretty good right now, man, with a couple, low pledges. You get a pretty decent looking setup, man. It looks great. Apparently, the plastic is like 80% more scratch resistant than like the plastic buckets. So if you think about like kind of a hard plastic, the entire lid removes. It was sent to my house, but I was like, look, honestly, Brian's going to be brewing more than I am able to. So I was playing around with it for a little bit, and it snaps on all 4 sides just like Tupperware. But there's a gasket in there, and so it's easy to clean. It sits on your counter, and that giant triclover, 3-inch triclover dump valve, it just makes the whole thing a dream to use. I'm looking forward to using it. I can't wait. I almost didn't give it to you, Brian, but you definitely brew more than I do.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to using that.
Yeah, and it looks cool too, man.
Yeah, I probably have to look at the Kickstarter campaign to kind of envision what this does.
Here, check it out.
But, yeah.
See right here. Oh, you got everything right there.
Okay, yeah.
See, here's a photo. Bam.
Very cool.
It's right there. Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty cool, man. So the folks from Craft Brew. They're big at BN folks, and you can bottle right from it too, by the way. Nice. They have a bottling attachment that just goes right on the drain. How awesome is that, dude? 3-inch butterfly valve. 3-inch. That's a huge thing, man. Anyway, check them out. Go to Kickstarter.com and look up The Catalyst and be a part of that. Jump on that thing, man. Jump on their campaign. It's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, check it out.
Check it out. All right, packaging. Now, I can't tell you how many friggin' plastic bags and Ziploc bags and stuff I've had to throw away because people just over package, and it's cool. You want your beer to arrive safely, and I appreciate that. I really do, because I have had a couple beers break on me from time to time when you people send them to me. But for the most part, I think people are kind of overdoing it as well. So what's a good ratio? How do we know how much packaging is enough?
The tip of using the plastic bag on the outside is always there. I actually rarely do it myself. Yes, it'll contain the spill if you have a bottle break in shipment, but just ensuring that you use enough bubble wrap. I think that the best is to get about 3 layers of the thin, the smaller bubble wrap around each bottle, and placing there's a lot of different ways you can place your bottles, but another trick and I've never used it, but I was reading some stuff too. An alternative to having a plastic bag to just contain the spill and have it sloshing around in there is to actually put a baby diaper in your shipment underneath the bottles, and that will absorb. If one bottle breaks, that's gonna. Think about how much pee that thing holds. Your kid's peeing all night. Use it nighttime Huggies. That thing's gonna hold a lot of liquid. Trust me, I know.
I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, my kid is, but yeah, that's an interesting tip. I don't know, but honestly, I should just let Keith talk right now, because he's entered a lot of competitions and he's won a lot of competitions. I'm sure he knows how to get his beer in there.
Yeah, clearly we've established that his beer arrives actually intact.
But I think part of what I do is not really try to send it very far very often. I have to do that. Like for the California state competition, you have to send down to LA. The main thing is you don't want it to break. So the first thing I think about is not about what happens if something breaks. The first thing I think about is, how do I ensure my beer bottles don't break? So I'm going to cover up my bubble wrap the bottles as much as possible so they're not going to break no matter what happens in the box, and then sort of create a sort of bed around them of bubble wrap as well. That's kind of the idea, is just to sort of create a bed around it, and then from there, you also, I think it's really important when you ship something to do it as fast as possible, depending on the time of year. If it's too cold in the winter, something could freeze. If it's too hot, the last time I sent beers down to LA, we had a heat spell up here in San Francisco, and it was 80 degrees. And that night I sent beers down, and a couple of the more fragile beers, I felt like they were hurt by that, So, first thing is, if you want to get beers, you want to win in competitions. If you want to get feedback, look local and deliver your beers there. Do that.
Try not to ship it.
Yeah. Really.
Try not to ever take this advice and package your beer and ship it out.
Yeah.
If you have 6 people entering, and thank you to my friend Chris who brought my beers to nationals. Last time, not that I won anything, but just there's 6 people. There might be one guy's well, I live not too far from Sacramento. I could bring them up there and throw them a beer or a little money for gas or whatever, and get arranged to get your 6 guys beers to them at the Homebrew Club meeting, and then you don't have to ship it at all. Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Rules to shipping beer: 1, avoid shipping if at all possible.
But for entering nationals, let's say, this next year, it's in the Midwest.
Yeah, you're gonna have to ship.
And for us East Coasters, you have to ship that, right? So, what's the best way to do that? How do we do that? When I did mine, when I used to enter competitions, I would do the bubble wrap, the small bubble wrap, and 2 or 3 wraps. A key is you want it to be secure, but you don't want to overdo it with a tape. And I've had to sit there with a knife and just cut off the bubble wrap because the tape there's so much of it on. You just need a little strip. It's not going to come off in shipment. It's not going to slide off the bottle.
Yeah.
So just put a little tape on, because you're not only trying to get your beer there, but you're trying to make it as easy for the folks who are running the competition, checking your beers in, to access your beer as possible.
Yeah, in general, for sending and trading beers, you have family members. I have family members in the Midwest. I want to share a beer with my brother.
Sure, yeah, we're not even just talking comps. That's a good point.
I don't want him to have to go through that pain in the ass of with the box cutter and doing all this.
Oh, man.
So, have a couple of layers of bubble wrap all around the thing, and inside where you wrap your bottles with the bubble wrap. A thing I do is, just as a courtesy to whoever's going to be opening it, I'll tape up the top of the bottle and make sure there's a good solid cone of bubbles around that. And that can be pulled off. But when you get to like wrapping the stuff around, I'll fold the tape over. So there's a strip of tape hanging off and it's pulled tight, and it's going to hold. It's going to be wrapped in there, and you have 2 inches or whatever. And you just fold it over an inch at the end where they can just grab that. And, I hope my brother's doing that. Just
you should ask him.
I should have a package there tomorrow, actually. And just pull that and open it up, and it's going to
it just comes right off.
Unleash the ale, as they say.
And I have to be honest with you, I really don't even use bubble wrap for the bottles. I do actually use newspaper for the bottles, and I keep them tight enough in a box, and then put the bubble wrap around the box and around them, and keep everything sort of in a tight, sort of like, so things don't move around in the box. Keep the box tight enough. And of course, if something would crush the box and step on it, then that may break. But I've always just used newspaper, and that's I've always had like lots of brewing news. I used to write for this brewing news article, and I had tons of paper left over, and I'd use those to wrap the bottles, like three or four pages around each bottle, and that's really easy to take off when you get to a competition. Granted, it leaves a lot of mess, and it's recyclable. But it always worked for me. Nothing ever broke. Maybe I was lucky, but keep the boxes kind of tight where you don't have a lot of extra space floating around where things are going to jiggle around, and that's kind of another issue there. You want to have things kind of in place when you're sending the bottles.
Yeah, so. Because ultimately that's probably how it's going to break, is because either the bottles hit each other inside, or you don't have enough cushioning, and when that package gets dropped or thrown on a busy season, it's going to slip and split the padding on the bottom and hit the ground or hit something else. So you want to make sure that you have an inch or two around it, but make sure those bottles aren't moving, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, but they probably don't need individual bubble wrap.
Well, the thing with paper you want to be careful about is paper. Well, okay, bubble wrap, it can pop, and a couple bubbles might pop, but paper, if you don't use enough of it and it's not super solidly packed, and it sounds like Keith is avoiding that problem. If it's not super solidly packed, you just put a bunch of bottles, wrapped in paper in the middle, and then lightly crunch a little paper around the edges and stuff it in there. Well, as that stuff shifts around in shipment, when you get a package from Amazon, a lot of times you get that, and the paper's all pushed to the sides, and there's like one piece of it in there, and whatever was in there is crunched, or the box of it is crunched at least, and you're like, oh, okay, then. Not to bag on Amazon, but anyone that ships anything, you could get something that's just packaged with paper around it, and it's not enough. Like, you need to use substantial enough paper or bubble wrap, but don't use foam penis. Those things suck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please don't use the foam penis. Never use a foam penis. It absorbs moisture, and this is a weird place to have it. Yes. The peanuts are terrible. But for like the newspaper, what do? Do you just ball it up like normal? You want it condensed more than usual, like a tight like wad, and just throw a bunch of them in there?
I mean, I am actually, as Brian's talking about, I'm lining the whole box with bubble wrap, or like the Amazon wrap with the bubbles they have it there. So the whole box has a cushion around it, and then I'm just wrapping the bottles so they don't smack against each other. And I'm using like three or four pieces of newspaper and just wrapping each bottle so they're not going to hit, like they're kind of making hand signals here on radio, which works well. But yeah, I'm wrapping them up so they don't smack against each other, sort of keeping everything really tight is the point. I'm not balling up newspaper in there at all. Like if I need if it's not going to be tight, I'll throw in extra bubble wrap or extra cushioning there to keep it all really, really tight, really, really tight.
Just want to avoid that glass on glass contact possibility. Yeah. If it's got a few layers of paper or bubble wrap around it, a couple layers of bubble wrap should be good.
Okay.
You can also do the box within the box.
The box in a box method. Yeah,
I mean, that's a little extra packaging, but you get kind of a floater in the middle of your bubble wrap sandwich, and that's gonna isolate that from jostling motions, and it's going to give it a good cushion for where you can, definitely prevent a lot of that breakage from happening.
Let's talk the extremes as well. Like, I mean, there are certain brewers out there who have in the past have gone to the point where they put ice packs and things like that and basically build a cooler inside of a box to keep the beers cool enough and send them overnight. And I think Gordon Strong did this for a couple of his national winning Ninkazis that he had. Okay, let me get the box. I'm going to make a cooler out of it, throw some cooler packs. It's similar to sending, as you know, probably sending yeast in the mail. Throw a couple ice packs in there and then keep them cold all the way there.
If you can do that, that's maybe the next best thing to hand carrying it.
Absolutely.
You can keep it controlled and keep it cool. But that's another extreme. Yeah, I got some nice boxes for our competition where it had like layers of that thick polystyrene, or just the insulating.
Dude, we had one. I should have brought. I actually thought about bringing the package in, but a guy sent in beer for this show. And I talked to him afterwards. He goes, "Yeah, I work in like foam or something." And he basically had this block of foam that he cut out each individual bottle. It was like a guitar case, and it just slipped right in. I was like, "You have problems."
Yeah, there's these
you have a problem.
Injectable foam pieces these days where you can just they just blow it around the material and it just conforms totally. If you have access to that kind of stuff, by all means, work with that.
Use that. Man.
I've also, from Belgium, I've received bottles where they use sort of like pipe coverings, where it's like foam pipe coverings, where you're covering up maybe it's outside pipe, keep it kind of warm or whatever, like foam like that, and they put bottles in there. You can stack 2 bottles in one and sort of tape it up, and they don't move at all either that way. And I use those a lot when I'm flying, when I'm putting bottles in bags and taking them across the country. I'll use those and just sort of wrap, and it's kind of hard to explain, but you know what I mean, like a
pipe insulating foam. It's thin. It's not super thick black usually.
These are a little bit bigger. They're they're about the size of a baseball on diameter, but they're like they're pretty thick. They're probably about 1.5 inches. But I use those for bringing bottles across the country a lot. And
that's a good idea.
And then another kind is those cardboard things that kind of conform to the if you get a wine shipment and you have like the cardboard or what, it's maybe not cardboard, but whatever it is, kind of a paper board that's conforming to the wine bottles, and then you package your bottles inside bubble wrap and put them inside the space where the wine bottle went, and that holds them. Whatever's going to hold them and keep them from moving too much in the shipment and keep them from bumping into one another, glass on glass especially. But if you can separate them, isolate them like that, that's even better.
And that again, that's the key, is you don't want the things to move in shipment.
Yeah,
that's it. So do whatever you can. But, that being said, don't use peanuts. Stop with the peanuts.
And for 12 ounces, you can also use like a 12 wine bottle case. And then just, if you don't care too much about the shipping costs, you can just separate them. So you have like one bottle here, one bottle there. Put some paper, bubble wrap in between or whatever, and just isolate them.
Yeah.
Put a thick layer of bubble wrap on the bottom and cut the little cardboard separators so they're shorter. Put the bottles in, put another couple layers of bubble wrap on the top of that, and that holds them in there, and kind of use the middle spaces, put them in spaces where they're not going to be touching each other, and get however many bottles you need to send in there and work on it. But
yeah. What about the legalities? Let's talk about that real fast.
Oh yeah.
Where can you send them? Which companies allow you to send them? Which don't?
So it's definitely illegal to send by U.S. mail. You need to definitely avoid that, and it's in law. So, UPS, FedEx, they have guidelines that for if you're not licensed to sell alcohol, you are technically, per their guidelines, you're not allowed to send alcohol. But you're not breaking any laws. You're just breaking their guidelines, from what I understand.
Right.
So, well,
I guess it's better don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
I was kind of going to say that, but
yeah,
if you ship them, it's you can use the yeast samples terminology, or which is technically true.
A whole bunch of olive oil.
There's a lot of different things, but
gifts.
Go the Godfather route. We import olive oil.
Yeah, but
I found UPS is asks less questions than FedEx. FedEx tends to ask more questions. If you say alcohol to FedEx, they'll pretty much shut you down, depending on where you live. I mean, there's certain places they're not going to say no, but here at least I've found that if I let somebody else try to ship my bottles, I'm out of town, they'll say, "Oh no, FedEx, nope, not going to happen." Like if you say alcohol, they'll say, "Nope, not going to do it." But UPS doesn't usually ask as many questions, but that may vary from state to state or region to region, whatever. But I tend to go with UPS.
I like UPS a little better too, but yeah, it's going to vary, and they'll get you too. My brother brought in some stuff to ship me one time into a little, whatever it was, mailboxes store, or whatever, FedEx or whatever store, and they shook it and detected that there was liquid in there, and they started questioning him a little more, and they found out that it was alcohol, and they like blacklisted him kind of. And the next time he went in there, they like had him on their list somehow.
Oh,
so they knew that he was shipping it. And some people will even go to great lengths and put like a little cup sealed up with some nuts or bolts or something in it. So actually it's like kind of a decoy.
Wow.
Where you'll like shake it and you hear something kind of rattling in there.
Wow. Okay.
Seriously.
I don't doubt it. And
you don't hear the liquid sloshing. Someone said too, storing it upright is you don't hear as much of the sloshing. I think because the liquid line is up in the neck instead of the body of the bottle.
Well, I think it's also how much liquid's in the bottle. Like, if you're leaving a lot of headspace, you're probably gonna have more sloshing. If you fill your bottles a little bit closer to the neck, you're probably gonna hear a little less sloshing, right? I don't know. I mean, I wonder if you probably bring a bottle right now and shake it. Like, there's a bottle over there. Let's do that on.
I wonder if you put like Fragile on like a Fragile sticker on, and then the monkey at the counter, shakes it. I'd be like, "What are you doing, dude? It's Fragile. Stop that."
Yeah.
Well, I think I hear liquid in there. No, it's Fragile.
I was going to mention Fragile stickers too. I think in general, just putting Fragile stickers are all over everything. But if you put a sticker on your box that says glass, that's probably going to actually help them. I've heard treat it a little bit better. And it's like, oh, totally will. This one has glass in it. I better not throw it against the wall. The monkey's back there.
I'd also recommend not making it too heavy.
Right.
I've gotten a lot of beers. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of beers like in USPS flat rate boxes, like large flat rate boxes, which fit just fine. But it's like this. Actually, the one in USPS that broke, that was leaking all over my porch, because USPS decided just to leave it there instead of rejecting it. That was in a large box, and there was kind of a lot of bottles in there. So be very aware of, you want like at least an inch or even 2 around the perimeter inside the box, and then you want to put your bottles in there because you want a cushion. They will knock against the boxes will knock against each other. They'll knock against the wall. And if you're doing it during the holidays, when the people who load the trucks are literally called throwers, they are throwing boxes. Yeah. And you want to make sure that if anything impacts that side, it doesn't break a bottle. It doesn't send one bottle into another inside that box.
I've heard the holidays are a pretty bad time to send it too.
Yeah. And I think there's also a thing about like, I think JP, you're talking about like how much weight to put into a box. I think there are limits as well, like how much it costs for each box. So there's you want to weigh your boxes and be like, okay, if I go over 30 pounds or whatever it is, like I want to break it up into 2 boxes because it's cheaper to do it that way versus bringing one heavy box.
Yeah.
So you want to find that limit. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I know I always break up, like when I have like 20 entries to send down to LA, it's like 60 bottles. I have to break them up into different boxes. And 3 boxes versus 1 box would be way too expensive.
Think if it's like gets to a heavy category where it's like over 50 pounds of beer or something, then you're gonna pay a little premium for that. I think it's probably around 50 pounds.
I'm still trying to figure out how to ship kegs. I got to work on that one.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, so I guess the takeaways here are just be smart, use enough paper. And if you do have to use USPS or FedEx or UPS,
don't use USPS.
If you want to send yeast samples, you can't. Sure, didn't we just say that you could?
USPS is illegal
for yeast samples. I thought you could do it.
No, you shouldn't send anything alcoholic with the USPS. I wouldn't risk it.
Okay, I do all the time.
Okay, well,
No, but you're right. You're right to say that because they state that you can't do it.
There is a law on the books about and it's the government, Yeah. So
never get the government on your ass.
Chances are they're just going to send you a nasty gram if they discover that you've got alcohol in your package. But I mean, there are fines or fees or who knows what.
That's true. You definitely don't want to do that. But if you have to,
jail time. I don't know.
Maybe jail time. Who knows?
We'll see. Yeah, in the Slammer next month. JP.
Right. Call them yeast samples. Don't call it beer. Don't be so honest. Stop being so honest.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that it?
Yeast
It's kind
samples.
of the down and dirty guide to shipping beer for competition.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, you can write into JP and JP at thebrewingnetwork.com and tell us that we're completely wrong or ask for clarification on anything. And we don't have all the answers either. Maybe there's some people we can bring in other suggestions to, that people that have had success.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Travis, thanks for joining us, man.
And he wins
thanks
the
for having
So
me.
by
all
default, you win the Dr. Homebrew. Jesus
at
Christ.
least your grog
The
tag.
grog tag, $40 at least your beer will look good gift certificate.
Awesome.
They've
So
got
I'll have to
some
get
cool
your
stuff
email
on
for
that
that.
site.
Yeah, check them out, man. Tins, metal signs, coasters, reusable labels, bottle caps, all sorts of stuff. Tap handles, all sorts of stuff. So check it out,
Love it.
grogtag.com. We love those guys.
I use it all the time. We're good.
Nice. Well, perfect. There you go. You got free $40 then, dude.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the beer bug yet?
No, I didn't. Look at you, Brian.
Man, check out my Russian
Beer bug. Good
my
work,
Imperial
Brian.
Stout.
Good work. Yeah.
The Brewing Network. Okay, yeah. The beer bug is a really cool thing, man. You put it in your beer and you can see, oh, crap, I got a stuck fermentation. Or, oh, my mead is almost done where I need to stop the fermentation. Or, oh, my beer's been done for 2 weeks and I've just been waiting for it,
Yeah, it's really cool. It sits in your beer. You can wirelessly monitor your beer from work, wherever you want, from in the kitchen, for God's sakes. You don't have to sit in the garage and watch the airlock plop off and on and off and on and off and on. Anyway, check it out, thebeerbug.com. I love it. Brian loves it.
It's great.
You guys are going to love it too. It's Dr. Homebrew. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Take it easy.